Hello folks, this is our first podcast and we're here with Ilric Shetland, without an H, in his studio. So here we go, first of many,
Great.
I hope.
Yeah.
The first thing I'm really fascinated is not only what you do and where you do it, but you went to Goldsmiths.
Yes.
But you're also a psychologist.
Yes.
What came first, chicken, egg?
Art.
Art was the
always
first thing.
art, yeah. Always.
And when did you graduate from Goldsmiths?
Oh God, must have ended in about it must have been 69 around then.
Right,
A long
okay.
time ago. Yeah.
And so then you did art.
I did art for a long time. I worked in, because there were no jobs, I worked in advertising, doing graphics and illustration. I also worked as a medical artist, drawing dead bodies and bits of bodies in the Wellcome Museum. So they've got fridges there filled with body parts, and it was a much less pressured job, believe it or not, understandably, from producing kind of day before yesterday, you know, commercial world stuff. So I did that for a while, which was nice, but funny enough, I got bored.
What a surprise.
There's lack of stimulation from the dead, but it was interesting.
And did that then draw you on to start painting the things you really wanted to?
Well, I was painting the things I was really wanting to. I was doing these very complex drawings, and that's that I got sponsorship from various different places, from British Arts Council, from Westminster Bank, Mercator Funds, things like that, to go and live and work in Belgium and exhibit there. I kind of suddenly found myself out of London,
yeah,
and on the continent, you know, in a way that I'd never really knew before, in what I would call the serious art world. And so I started associating, because of what I was doing, with serious artists.
Yeah.
And I just felt, and I felt completely stupid.
Right.
So stupid. So I decided to educate myself. So every morning I was given various free membership. I had free membership to the film museum. So I used to watch 4 films a day,
right,
in the evenings when it opened. And I got a free membership to the American Library, which had nothing but the best collection of contemporary art books you could imagine. There was no one in there.
And you felt out of place because you felt you knew nothing
I
about
felt
the art that
I
everybody
knew
else
nothing.
Right, okay.
Just completely ignorant.
Yeah,
So
I know that feeling.
It never goes away. Right. You just have to read the next book.
So what was your introduction then from there to the American Sublime?
Okay, it's a long jump. It's a long jump. That's a good question. I mean, basically, living in Brussels, I had all sorts of very strange experiences with very transformative experiences. So I moved out of that kind of whole scene. I got a contract with a gallery in London and became very politicised. The experience of Brussels and the kind of things that I came across and the people that I came across, I became very much more politicised. So the art that I started doing in London was much more politicised. It was very based on conceptual art, a lot of psychoanalysis, a lot of philosophy.
Was that started your interest in psychology?
Really,
but you still now weren't a psychologist.
No. I'm a psychoanalyst.
Okay.
We like to define those silly.
Yes.
So important. People die for those. You know?
When did this scaling, and what brought you into this scaling idea of what happens when you scale down something?
Right, okay. Gridding, the rectangle is the kind of degree zero of the art world. You know, Malevich is black on black. And so within modernism, and especially American modernism, which is kind of what they call frontal modernism, as opposed to the nice, well-mannered European modernism, like Patrick Heron as against, I don't know, Jim Dine or Larry Rivers or something like that. Whereas you get everything is dead square and flat on, to do with the flatness of the picture plane and the rectangle itself. And I was particularly influenced by Chuck Close, who started gridding. And gridding was in those days, it was a procedural part of conceptual art. It was a way of taking the authorship, the notion of genius out, because that was anathema. Instructions were discovered. You know.
And is your work then? Do I understand it right that you take one of those squares and go in and blow that up.
I do, yeah.
That's
what interests me.
And what do you want to get from that? Almost, what do you want to draw us as viewers in?
Okay, well, in one sense, it's very childlike. It's like pushing a toy across a carpet. You know, when you're little, oh, wow, look at that. You know, oh, great, there's a bump. Oh, yeah. Of course. You know, and there's something about just travelling inside something and having an adventure, you know, in a picture. So you can kind of walk around and say, oh, I wonder what that cave's like, or I wonder if I could climb up this bit. So there's something about that very childlike exploration and adventure, all on your own. You know.
But what you do is you put yourself, you take that little section and then you blow it up. But you obviously, because you can't blow it up bigger than it is, so you have to add yourself.
You have to imagine every bloody square inch of it, which is hard work, but it's also good fun as well. So because, yeah, I mean, basically, it's a sandpit. Yeah. In one sense, it's an adventure. Right. You know, and that's lovely. And of course, it helps you make form, because you can't climb over a badly painted rock. Right. So you have to paint a decent rock, so you can actually climb over it. Right. So in a sense, there's a certain level of it having to be convincing.
And do we know on your paintings where the original was taken from?
Good point. You see, here in the difference between Aristotle and simulacrum, Aristotle had the notion of the model and the copy. Right. And he was always worried that the copy would, if it were a copy of a copy, diminish the model more and more significantly, because any mistakes that were made whilst the first copy would be made would be copied and duplicated in the second one, plus the additional mistakes made in that one. Right. So eventually the model disappears under a ruinous process of copying. Right. Whereas simulacrum theory is there is no original. There is no such thing as an original. Okay. Everything is just what it is. Yeah. And it just carries on reproducing itself, and it changes. Yeah. And it was a very important idea. You get it in Baudrillard. It's a structuralist idea, the concept of the simulacrum. And it was very big in the 80s. I remember friends of mine producing huge abstractions that people thought were pieces of minimalism, which are actually just copies of one sort of fragment of the Marlboro cigarette package, and they go, oh, wow, look at that hard edge painting. So he knows the edge of the Marlboro packet, you know, and you'd say it like in that masterful deadpan sort of way to make them feel like shit, and you'd feel intellectually very superior, you know. But that's kind of what you do.
So to answer the question, then, you don't or you do reveal what your source is on.
I'm quite happy to.
I mean, you don't do it as a course on the back of a painting or whatever else.
No, I don't. Although I
suppose the idea that something is analogue and it's changing all the time, it's an organic process, it becomes irrelevant where the actual initial idea comes from.
It does, really. It's the thing in itself, really. And no, you're absolutely right there. And I mean, people often, when they look at landscapes, say, "Oh, where's that? Oh, it's a so-and-so." Yeah. The moment you've done that, the thing's closed down, or it tends to be. And the familiarity of that is part of what people are buying. I always say landscapes are a bit like going to the zoo. You can't afford to take the animal away because you haven't got room in your home. Right. So you buy a toy elephant. Yeah. And landscapes are a bit like that. You can't take it home because, you know. So you buy a picture. And in a sense, that's what picture postcards, the whole of the development of the railway system, the development of the photographs, exactly. And that's kind of what it's about. Nothing, you know, it's a souvenir.
So it's like saying, in other words, what you could say in actual painting when somebody asks you what was you could say it used to be a Rembrandt.
Very good, yes.
And walk away. And leave them with that lovely they'll be like,
excellent. Yeah, no, that's right.
Well, on that note, we're going to close it down because I'm sure we've shot well over the 5 minutes that we're going to do. Ilric Shetland, everyone, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.